Today in Alabama, state Republicans defied the Supreme Court of the United States and voted against redrawing congressional maps that would accurately represent black voters. Right now in Alabama, only one of the 7 congressional districts is majority black, even though more than a quarter of Alabama's population is African American. Last month, the Supreme Court agreed with a lower court ruling from at least 2 Trump appointees that found that Alabama's map violated the Voting Rights Act by denying minority voters an equal opportunity to elect representatives of their choice. The decision called on the Alabama legislature to draw an additional district, making black voters the majority of the voting age population, or, quote, something quite close to it. So, Alabama Republicans had to go back to the drawing board. And today, after long sessions of negotiations and huddling over dueling maps presented by Republicans in both chambers, legislators adopted their final proposal, a map that still doesn't do what the Supreme Court said. You can see it right here. First, it drops the percentage of black voters in the only majority black district from 55% to nearly 51%. And it adds a new district where black voters will only make up about 40% of the voting age population. That's neither the majority nor something quite close to it. The governor of Alabama just signed that map into law, leaving black voters in Alabama back at square one. Joining us now, Tona Boyd, Associate Director Counsel of the Legal Defense Fund, one of the groups that brought the Alabama case to the Supreme Court on behalf of the plaintiffs. Tona, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So, as a litigant for the case, what's your initial reaction to Republicans in Alabama ignoring the Supreme Court ruling?
Listen, Jonathan, what the Alabama legislature has done is appalling. It's lawless and it's undemocratic. As you just stated, both the district court and the United States Supreme Court were clear about what Alabama must do, and that's create a second district where black voters have the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. And instead, what Alabama did is appalling. But you know what? It is not.
Go ahead.
It's not new. We've seen this from Alabama before. We've seen this movie before. I mean, recall back to the 60s when, yet again, Alabama defied a court order designed to fully enfranchise and give blacks the opportunities that they deserved. I mean, this was an infamous moment in which George Wallace stood and tried to block students from integrating the University of Alabama, and did that in defiance of a court order. So Alabama has done this before, but they didn't succeed then, and they won't succeed now.
So then the new map, is likely to be rejected by the district court that struck down Alabama's first map. So if that happens, what happens next?
I think that's right. So first of all, although Alabama is acting as though they're above the law, they are not. This map is going to go back to the same district court that rejected their discriminatory map before. That court will then evaluate that, and we will be there to object to that map. And then the court will likely have the option to appoint a special master who will then come up with a map that comports with the court's order. So Alabama will not have, this is not the last word or the last step in this journey.
What is LDF ready to do to block Republicans from denying black voters in Alabama a chance at equal representation?
Listen, we are going to continue to fight, as we have for the past 2 years, to ensure that black Alabamians have the representation that they deserve and that they have a map that is fair. So we are already mobilized to object to the map that has been put forth thus far. We will continue to fight in court. But I've got to say, we can't only fight this battle on one front. We've also got to fight to fully restore and strengthen the Voting Rights Act so that these type of antics that the Alabama legislature has gotten up to don't continue to persist.
So how could this new map reverberate across the country, especially with other states in the South confronting similar voting rights challenges?
You know, I think the message is going to be clear, Jonathan. We're going to continue to fight because this map cannot and should not stand. Both the district court and the Supreme Court were clear. And so we're going to continue to fight. And that's here in Alabama and elsewhere where folks are continuing to try to subvert the will of black voters.
You know, Tona, as I was reading the story about what is happening in Alabama and Alabama defying a Supreme Court ruling, I went back to the Supreme Court ruling in Brown v. Board of Education. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the Supreme Court have to do another ruling where they put in there that they had to desegregate the schools, quote, with all deliberate speed? Do I have my history right?
You do, Jonathan. And I have to say, it couldn't be more important in this case that we act quickly to ensure that Alabamians have the fair representation that they deserve, because you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And once an unfair map is in place and allows to persist, the harm is irreparable. We already saw that with the 2022 election when Alabamians were forced to vote under an unfair map. We cannot and will not let that happen again. We have to act, as the court has said before, with all deliberate speed.